Hello, and you are very welcome back to the Public Eye Business Podcast, brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host, Sarah Travers, and throughout the series I'm speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Well, today I am joined by Jacqueline Hamilton, owner of Seaforde Interiors. Jacqueline, you're very welcome to the podcast studio. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me.
Well, you've got beautiful candles and all sorts of lovely things in front of me, so I can't wait to have a little sniff and try all of these. But first of all, a little bit of background for everyone tuning in today on Jacqueline and her business. So Seaforde Interiors is an independently run design service which can help style an individual room, a whole house or a commercial business. Now, originally from County Down, Jacqueline obtained her fine art degree in England, but she is so well travelled and has lived and worked in both Asia and Australia. And her travels in the Far East and Down Under continue to be a source of inspiration for her interior design creations. After her time overseas, Jacqueline lived in London and eventually, though, returned home to Northern Ireland. She and her husband Tony designed and built their own unique home in the beautiful village of Seaforde in County Down, which they share with their 2 children and their dog Gizmo. Jacqueline is absolutely passionate about interior design and about creating functional, bespoke, beautiful spaces. And she's award-winning as well. She was a finalist twice for the Ulster Tatler Interior Designer of the Year in 2020 and 21, and a finalist for Local Women magazine, also in 2020 and 21. And just last year, I've mentioned the candles, but Jacqueline started to make and hand pour her own soy wax candles from her own kitchen, based on beautiful local spots: Murlock, Torella, Tollymore and Winter Wonderland. Jacqueline, you've had quite a career to date, but obviously you love all things beautiful and creating beautiful spaces and beautiful places for people to be.
I do indeed, Sarah, and it's really not that hard. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of decluttering and things like that, colour, rearranging furniture, putting new furniture in, and it's all different, whether it be a domestic or a commercial premises as well. But I was always like that whenever I was a child. Whenever my mum used to take me around to visit family and friends, I used to sit there with my coat on and sort of think, what colours would I put on the wall? How would I rearrange the furniture? Add furniture, and they always always wanted to play with my dolls' houses more than my dolls, so it's always been in me from a very early age.
That's incredible, because that's completely alien to me. So you were obviously just born this way. You've travelled so much as well, and you say that you've been very much experienced by those travels.
I definitely have. It gave me confidence as well. Whenever I finished my degree, it was like 1997, my goodness, and there was no work at all whatsoever, and I knew I wanted to travel, so the only way to do that was actually obtain a TEFL, which is a Teaching English as a Foreign Language course. And with that, I went to Bangkok and lived and worked there. And then we went on to Australia from that as well. But that was the only way to actually, sort of help fund me, sort of my travelling bug. And I loved it. And just to meet people from all different walks of life as well, it was fantastic to be experienced, from coming from County Down. But I had lived in England for 4 years before that, because I had to do a foundation in fine art and then my 3 years fine art printmaking.
Gosh.
So, but it was wonderful. And just to see people and meet them, and it gives you a confidence, you know what I mean? And just people to sort of be friendly to each other and things like that. So I take that with me no matter where I go, not to be afraid of or intimidated by people. We're all the same.
And what do you think it taught you about as a person and as a person from Northern Ireland? Because, I often talk to people and I'm always interested to hear who's left Northern Ireland, because there's a whole world out there.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's fabulous, but the reasons that I actually left Northern Ireland were the reasons I came back as well, though, because we wanted to start a family. So with my dad being a teacher in our local town in Ballinage, everybody knew him and everybody knew my mum as well. So my mum was a head cook in the primary school also. So I had my mum all the way through primary school, and then I had my dad through secondary school, but he did actually take early retirement whenever I was in 3rd year. So it was kind of like, oh my goodness, it was just great. I was like, everyone else, because like normally people would, the teacher, if they even saw you talk in the class, they'd say, if you were maybe asking somebody for a lend of a ruler or a pencil, it'd say, Jacqueline Maguire, I see you talking, I'm going to tell your daddy. So I just couldn't wait to get away from Northern Ireland, because it was such a small town as well. And but that was the reason why I wanted to come back. I wanted to come back for those reasons as well, because there's nowhere else like it. It's people are sort of so warm and willing to help each other and things like that. I just love that sense of community.
And family as well.
Yeah.
So no regrets about coming back. But tell us how you started the business in interior design then.
I always wanted to do interior design, and I don't know why I ended up doing printmaking, but I did. But anyway, even whenever I went to actually study in England,
where did you study?
I studied in Birmingham and then Wolverhampton. And but whenever I went to do my foundation in Birmingham, I was in halls of residence, because that's where you sort of start out, because you're just a newbie. And I remember like putting masking tape on the steel frame windows and painting, do you know what I mean, and things like that. And then anywhere kind of we lived, like I would all like. The way like a lot of new houses or old houses, they were period homes, they would rip out the fireplaces and stuff. So I'd like put a piece of cardboard and stuff up and like draw a fire. I was always trying to make it cozy and warm and things like that. And so I just love it. But I ended up being a stay-at-home mum for about 7 years. Whenever we did move back home, I was working a post-production in London, and then we came back home. My husband is a quantity surveyor, so his passion is building and interiors and stuff as well. He loves all that.
And where did you meet your husband?
I met him actually in a bar in Ballyhinch in Northern Ireland.
Oh, did you?
I did, on my 19th birthday.
Oh, so you travelled together?
We did. Well, he actually, I went on to college and he went on to Australia, so he was there first himself. So that was good. But we've been together 27 years this year. So we're a good team together,
team.
And we work well together. And I knew after 2 years of travelling and being away and things like that with him that we worked well together, and things like that.
So then working together or working in the same environment?
Yes, working in the same environment, not necessarily together, because I mean as in like sort of DIY projects and things like that, and building our own home. Because Tony actually works for a company in London, whereas I work, but we still work from home together, sort of obviously in the same premises. But it was kind of like I was at home for 7 years, and then whenever my daughter Daisy went into primary school, I went back and actually worked in a nursing home doing activities and crafts and things like that with them. And I absolutely loved it. It was great fun, and it was really, really rewarding. And I noticed then with people with dementia and things, that they love singing, they love the smell, the scents and things like that, and reading to them. It brings back memories also. And I always thought, how can I do something like that, and that's sort of where the candle idea came from as well. But Daisy, whenever she went back to school, obviously, so I did that for 2 years, and then I actually had an accident where I damaged the Achilles, and I couldn't work. Oh. So I was pretty miserable. My whole arch and everything had fallen, and I kind of like cut myself into a bit of a rut. And then I saw that there was an interior design course being advertised, and it was only a year, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that. That sounds fabulous, just right up my street. So I went back and did that, and I loved it, and I haven't looked back since.
And where did you do that?
I did that down in Bangor in Cirque. So I did. It was fabulous. So it was teaching you how to do just basically, I knew the rules of colour and things like that there, but with having a degree in fine art and stuff, but it kind of gave you more of the rules and things like that as well.
And did you feel that you'd finally come home?
I did.
This is where I'm meant to be.
I thrived on it, and it gave me so much confidence as well. And it was kind of like you kind of had, it just created a spark in you again, and it was like, why did I not do this years ago? But it just wasn't meant to be, and it's the right time now, So I started, this is my 7th year in interior design, so it is, so, but I just love it.
So really how did you start? So you did the course, and then you obviously needed clients.
Yes, this is it. You think that once you do your website and once you start up your Facebook page and things like that, the phone's going to ring, and the phone doesn't ring. So you're like, right, how am I going to drum up business? Because you can't rely on friends and family, like that's something completely different. You need to get your own, your own clients. So what ended up happening was my friend, she said to me, look, Jack, because you and Tony have built your own home here in Seaforde, why don't you bring people in and kind of show them it kind of like, this is what you have done, this is what you've achieved. So she said, why don't you do like chalk paint workshops? And I went, that's a really good idea. So
So you had designed your own beautiful home at this stage.
What we had done was we had got a fantastic architect called Lorna Atchison, and we showed her. I mean, there was no Pinterest in those days. This is like 15 years ago or 17 years ago actually, because we're in it now 15 years, but there was no Pinterest. So I had a massive scrapbook, and I had all the things that I liked and all the things we didn't like, and we gave it to Lorna, and she was able to take from that and sort of to design
that mood boardy.
Yep, absolutely. Idea. And I hadn't even done my interior design course at this stage either, so it was great. So it was fabulous. So there's always lots of compromise. You can't have everything you want, either it be money or whatever. But we loved it, and we love our home. And because we had lived in London and we'd done up our apartment in London because we'd bought over there, whenever our son Rudy came along, obviously with sterilisers and stuff sitting out, and we'd done it really, really modern, the whole modern apartment, the London living look and things like that. And whenever sterilisers and stuff came out, it did not work. So we said, no, we're going to have like a sort of country sort of, background and things like that there. So that was our more traditional sort of was our mood board and our ideas. So that was it. And
so you were bringing people in to chalk paint to something. I remember when that first happened, and everybody was wanting to revamp their furniture with the beautiful chalk paint.
Absolutely. And so I had to say to people, it has to be an item of furniture that can fit easily into the boot of your car, because I didn't want people bringing wardrobes and beds and things like that. And of course, Sarah, I had it, so it was starting at 10:30 in the morning, and they were coming, and I had scones and coffee and things like that. They were all sort of sitting out, and then we would have lunch as well. It was a really lovely day, but people stayed for so long. That's the only
You didn't make any money. You were feeding them all day.
Yeah, I was feeding them all day. And it's
oh
my goodness. And I remember there was one night my husband and I were going out for dinner. It was like 6:00 and people were still there, and I was like, we
had the wine opened at this point.
Have to call you guys in Chinese, But it was great fun, and it was also a good way of marketing, and I was able to put those photographs of what the ladies before and after. So I provided the paint as well. I made no money on it, but it was a great way to get to know local women as well, and it was also and to get known. So I was able to put those pieces onto my Facebook page, and then from that, the work started to come in. So it was from then.
And do you remember that first client?
I do. It was a real baptism of fire, actually. It was a restaurant in Belfast. Yes, on the Dublin Road.
So how did that happen? Just because they'd looked at the Facebook page, or word of mouth?
It was through an architect, and they were ringing me, and I was actually getting ready for my lunch, because I was doing a lunch from home, and I had the local newspapers coming and stuff like that there, and they were like, right, well, we want you to come down now. And the irony of it was that I couldn't come then, because I was trying to get this party and everything ready. But it was great. But it was a real baptism of fire, because it was a commercial business, and it's completely different to a home, because it's all insurance, fire retardant, things like that. But my second client after that was a dream, and I still would do work for them people as well. They're absolutely amazing.
Saying the restaurant wasn't a dream, that was challenging for you.
It was
out of the comfort zone.
It was completely out of my comfort zone. I thought I was going to start with a wee bedroom or a wee living room or something, and then to do like a restaurant. But it turned out fabulous.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it turned out really well.
Well, isn't that amazing that you had that stretch project right at the beginning?
It was, but it was right before summer as well. So it was it was just bad timing, the whole thing, and I didn't want to say no to it, because you're getting started. But
welcome to the world of being self-employed,
yes,
isn't it?
Absolutely.
And learning how to manage your time and what you do and what you don't do. And at the start, you have to work really hard, don't you?
Oh, you do.
You work hard all the time, but you maybe you're better at managing your time as you continue, I think.
Yes, because you think, right, I'm going to be self-employed, and I can pick my hours, and I can do this.
Yes.
You work longer hours, you work longer days, definitely.
You never switch off, really.
Never.
Always checking to see if somebody's getting in touch. So you had a second job that was lovely.
I did. It was an apartment then in Stramillis, and it was a lovely family, and it was doing upcycling. I was doing painting furniture, I was getting new furniture for them, I was choosing colours and curtains and everything. It was fabulous. So that was a lovely job. So that went on a few months, and as I say, I would still actually work for that family as well, because then they were happy, and then their mom, you know what I mean. So it's good.
So would you say you have a particular style, Jacqueline?
I don't really, because I think I like to show my clients' personality very much. It's all about them. Whenever it was in lockdown and you were trying to do consultations online, it was very difficult, Sarah, because you don't have that sense of actually driving to someone's house, walking to their door, and sort of you get a feeling of who they are. You can see a hockey stick sitting out, so you know that they need more storage, you know, different things like that there. Whereas when you're trying to do it online, it's very, very different.
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business and immigration law practice located in the heart of Newry City. Granite Legal Services provides legal advice to both individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries, from employment, commercial or corporate law matters to immigration law. Granite Legal Services focuses on providing legally sound, practical advice to its clients. To get in touch, visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk or contact 028 3026 2200. So obviously, you know, we're in a cost of living crisis, all of these things. People are more conscious perhaps about spending. But if people do, so say I phoned you tomorrow and I said, right, I just need some help here, or I want you to give me loads. I want to just do up the living room and the kitchen. Where do you start?
Right. Well, normally what happens is whenever I go along and meet someone, it's kind of like maybe want to get a pair of curtains, right? And so I'll go along and show them the different fabrics, and then sort of on that basis, then we will choose the paint colours, because you always choose your fabrics first, and you always choose your sofa first as well for your living room, because that will dictate what the rest of the room is going to look like, and you might be surprised actually what you pick. I ended up picking a pink sofa for our living room, and I never thought in the world that I would ever pick a pink sofa, and I never thought my husband would be happy enough, you know,
but
having a pink sofa.
There are some gorgeous colours of shades.
It's a very light dusty pink. It's not like a, you know, like a shocking Barbie pink or anything like that.
Which is fine for somebody, but
yes, but not
you.
Yes. So that's it. But so it's kind of like start with your living room, and sort of if you want to keep. If, for instance, you're keeping your sofa and your curtains, then we will choose paint colours that will actually work with that, you know, and things like that. And it's unbelievable how much colour actually changes a room, and how many people actually maybe get it wrong. Yeah. They maybe think because we've got the blue sofa, we're going to paint our walls blue as well, and then you can't actually see the blue sofa, so you need to actually have a contrast in colour, you know, to sort of be able to make that pop, you know. So it's unbelievable what colour can do, and you don't actually have to make that many changes to a room.
And you talked about the rule of colour back in your studying days. What are those? What is that rule?
Well, there's different colours for different things, and red you can have in a bedroom because it would be more passionate. You would maybe steer clear from like light blues and things like that in a bedroom, which can be quite cold. And red can maybe be an angry colour as well, so you have to be very careful with the different types of shades that you're going for. Green obviously is bringing the outside in, so it's all very different, like sort of all the colours have a background and can invoke sort of different emotions as well, whereas a blue is a very creative colour, and it's very, very good for home offices as well. It keeps you calm, it helps you be creative, it helps with thoughts and stuff as well. So it's all different. All the colours have different meanings and different.
And it's important to get it right too.
Yeah.
And then the various shade degrees within that colour block as well.
Absolutely.
I remember actually having my bedroom, and I wanted it this was years ago, but very bright and airy, and I just wanted a gingham blue bedspread. But I got the colour on the wall of the white wrong, and it was sort of like an insipid yellow, and it made me feel ill.
I know. And colour...
It just drained me.
I know, it can do.
It's horrible.
And a colour that works maybe well in one room will not necessarily work well in another room, because you've got all the different light components as well.
Yes.
You know, you maybe have like sort of some rooms maybe only have one sort of window, maybe the all sort of glass fronted as well. So it depends. And it's like fabrics also. I have a load of fabric books which I cram into my mini and I bring round to people into their homes, and it's unbelievable. So they don't have to like sort of get little samples from a shop or whatever and then bring them back and then realise they don't work. The fabrics are there for them then to choose, and they know that it works and it will work there, you know.
And seeing how it works all through the day, maybe
absolutely as well. Absolutely as well. And what I tend to do, Sarah, as well, is although I have like I have like bags of sort of different paint colours and stuff like that. But what I'll do is actually I'll paint them up onto little colour cards, and so it's good to actually see what they're like different times of the day as well. And I will share that with my clients also.
And I suppose all the clients that you work with, they're all different. I'm thinking if you worked with me again, you'd have your work cut out, because I am terrible about commitment. I change my mind all the time. I must be the most infuriating type of person. But do you get clients that are absolutely blown away by the insight that you give them to the possibilities within their home?
Yes. Even yesterday, I put like a red kitchen on yesterday, and like as soon as I walked into that room, it was a period home, and I just knew that it had like cream units, and I knew that dark red, it has to be that certain type of red, and that can invoke. Like even to help people eat as well, do you know what I mean? Like it's can invoke a passion as well, with the red too.
And the warmth.
The warmth, absolutely. So as soon as I walked in there, I knew. I went red, and the lady looked at me and she was like, "What?" And I was going red.
And what was there at the time?
It was like a very light green. And I took it out, and as soon as I put it up against the wall, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, I wouldn't have thought of that."
No, I would never have thought of that myself.
And she was like even she wrote a note and everything yesterday on my Facebook and said, "Thank you so much. You knew from the start instinctively what colour should have went on that wall." And she said, "I'm so glad I trusted you as well." So you do get people, you get lovely feedback, because it's incredible. If you do up an office as well, like the energy and the sort of like the work team as well, like it just makes them want to be there. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting that you bring up workspaces at the minute, because that's been a bit of a controversial subject over the last couple of years, with people working from home, maybe not wanting to go back into the office, changing the way that we work. The big open plan didn't seem to work for people anymore. They needed the quiet spaces to be able to do the online video call. Have you found that you've been involved in a lot of changing the way people work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've done a lot of home offices as well, and I've done a lot of commercial premises too. And it's incredible, because the feedback is great. Do you know what I mean? Like, and like whenever you go back again to maybe take some photographs, like maybe sort of the people that are working there will say, "Oh my goodness, we just love coming into work now." It's given them, a lift, not only the building, but, for them actually to want to be there as well. I'm helping an enterprise centre as well to actually get them revamped too, for other people that maybe are working from home as well, that maybe
Fabulous.
can go and hire out sort of different offices as well. So it has been, a lot of it has been, it's been incredible how COVID has been an awful thing, but it has changed how we do work, definitely.
Yeah, there's so many people that sit where you are, and they talk about the learnings from COVID and how much change it's brought, but also for good.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk me through, you say you don't have a particular style, but you must be always looking at the latest kitchen units, the latest lights, fittings, and you must start going, "Oh, I love that, and I know exactly that light would work brilliantly in this new house." But what excites you the most whenever you've got a blank space?
It really, now, because I've been going for 6 or 7 years, it's unbelievable how much that or that that you've maybe something else has worked in another property, and you're like, "That will work here. It'll look amazing." And you're able to go back and show them photographs of, and how, because sometimes it's very hard for people to actually visualize how something's going to be. So I do up mood boards and digital mood boards as well. So, but it's good for them to like sort of show them, "Oh my goodness, I never thought that would work, but no, yes, it does." So no, I love what I do, and it's very interesting, and there's always something different, Sarah. Whether it be commercial premises, which is very strict and stringent because you've got fire retardant, you've got insurance and things like that there, and obviously you're not going to have as much furniture and things like that, whereas compared to domestic, you've got more of a freer reign.
So we've talked very much about the design. I suppose we should talk about the business side of things too. So how have you found being your own business owner, and where are you at now with Seaforde Interiors?
I love it. I do love it, and I would find it very hard to actually work back in a sort of an office environment again. I really would do. Kind of, I do a wee bit of freelance work for another company, but that's very, very limited. But I am my own boss, so I love it. You do miss aspects of working in the office, like the crack, as we talk about, and like sort of going into the kitchen and making a cup of tea and sort of talking, what have you been up to and things like that. But for me, it's kind of like it's just free. you know. And my clients they're always lovely, because I never have to prove to them who I am, because they come to you because they've seen what you've done, and they're like, you know, you don't have to prove yourself. So I do love that. I love that aspect.
It takes a while to get there, though, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. But as I say, whenever I started out doing the chalk paint workshops, that was a really, really good marketing way of actually getting people to sort of fit through the door and see what you can do. Because sometimes you are limited, because maybe people don't want to go the whole hog. You know, you can see how it will look, and they maybe are a little bit frightened, and they'll stay safe, and it'll still look really, really good. So during lockdown, I actually ended up putting lots of photographs of my own home on, because it kind of, we had just recently, because we'd been there for, 15 years, we decided to revamp it. And it was nice then to show people what we could do, rather than, not having any restrictions whatsoever. And then I got more work from that as well. So it's social media has been incredible.
Yeah, do check out Jacqueline's social media, and indeed the website. Have a look, even just the Facebook page I was looking at before you came on today. And, it's so inspirational. It just makes me want to do up my house. And what I really do say you don't have a style, but you definitely, in terms of your domestic premises and the houses and the homes, everything that you do looks and feels so comfortable. Is that something that people say? It feels like a home?
Yes. And it needs to be comfortable, and you don't want to have a show home. I find that out in London, when I was talking earlier about, we had done up our apartment, and it was like so amazing and modern and beautiful. And then whenever we came to sell it, whenever we knew people were coming around, we had it like a show house. And then there was a knock on the door one evening, and it was a German lady, and she said, "I'm here to view your home, your apartment." And we were like, I had my son in the bath.
The ironing needs to go in the boot of the car.
Yeah. But I had my son in the bath. I had like his nappy on the bed, a clean nappy and on the bed. I had the Sudocrem and all ready to go. And I was like, oh, she's never, but she must have maybe wanted a family. Do you know what I mean? You don't know, but I mean, like, she visualized maybe, I don't know what it was, but she was the one that ended up buying it. So you just don't know. So I knew from then that you have to have it. It has to be a family, it has to be a home, so that people can feel comfortable in and relax in.
How do you manage your workload and your time? Because you've obviously become very well known. We were chatting just before the podcast about how busy you were just in the run up to Christmas, with everybody doing a revamp and refresh. But how do you manage that workload?
I have a massive whiteboard in my home office. I have a great home office, actually. I call it my study, my studio. So I kind of like sort of set my hours to work on this project, that project, chase people up, sort of go and see them, visit consultations and stuff like that there as well. So I am actually good. At the start, I was terrible. at time managing and things like that there. Maybe sort of you get sort of sidetracked, maybe put a load of washing in and things like that there, because I am obviously a mum and things. Yeah. I am sort of working from home. So you kind of do get sidetracked maybe the odd time, but I try not to do that at all now. I'm very, very sort of rigid and kind of like set times out, because that's the only way to do it.
So you've set times on certain days to do certain things?
Yes.
Great. And how many clients can you take on at a time?
It's tricky. I mean, I remember in lockdown I had 13 clients the very first month. It was unbelievable. It was like, goodness. It just went crazy because people had started to work from home. They were finding fault with their home. They weren't able to go away on holiday, so then they were putting their money into. So it was crazy, but it was great and was good fun as well.
But you had to do all of that remotely?
Yes. A lot of it remotely. Yes. And then we were able to start going in because we were seen as tradespeople. So we were able to start going in. We were wearing our masks and stuff, and obviously having the 2 meter rule and things like that there.
So that was crazy, but
was crazy. But it was
brilliant for business.
It's crazy looking back on it. But at the time, you just sort of kind of get through it, don't you? You know it is. But now you kind of think, my goodness,
how did we do that?
How did we do it?
So talk us through the changes that you've made, because you've brought in some beautiful candles sitting in front of me today, which is not very good, I suppose, for people with listening to the podcast, but I will try and sniff and pick up the scents as you talk me through them. This is relatively new for you now.
Yes, I actually self-gifted some sort of how to make your own soy wax candles last Christmas to myself, and I sort of read them and I YouTubed and I messed about for like months. And I got different scents and things like that there. So I knew exactly the two places. They're based on the first two were the places that I really missed whenever I was living away from home, and that was Murlock and Tullymore. And it's ironic that we actually are now living somewhere very close to them as well, you know. So Murlock would be very salty and fresh and crisp.
That is. It's just like a walk on the beach, isn't it?
It is lovely. It's like salty air, isn't it?
It really is. It's very salty.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's my husband's favourite.
Yeah.
And then I did Tullymore as well. And my parents actually live in Bransford, so we would walk. We would have grown up, you know, sort of walking through Tullymore and things like that there as well.
Have you heard a big inhale of breath there? That is gorgeous. That is so fresh and, full of trees and firs and quite Christmassy.
It is, because it's all the fir trees, you know.
Christmassy, but you could, you know,
you can have
winter.
it
Very nice.
all year round. And also because whenever I showed my dad and my mum, you know, the Murlock and the Tullymore, my dad just innocently looked at me and he said to me, "Why did you not do a Torella one?" Because that's actually where he's from. So then 6 weeks later, then I had to, you know, so I was able to show.
And your dad has dementia.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he has.
So he wanted something that reminded him.
And every time I show it to him, Sarah, he sniffs it and smiles. And because it's like the first time he smelled, you know what I mean? His long term memory's good, but his short term memory's terrible. So he will not remember, you know.
But the senses, you see,
senses,
they're there.
It is.
And the memories will be invoked.
Absolutely, you know.
That's gorgeous. That's very nostalgic.
It is.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do like a wee deck chair on the front of that one as well. And they've been really popular actually for the run up to Christmas, because a lot of people were sending them to friends and family, you know, like in England and things like that there as well.
So where can we buy these then?
You can buy them online, or if I can meet you, or you can pick up in Seaforde. There's no problem.
And how much would a candle be?
A candle's £22 each, or 2 for 40. So they're not expensive.
Well, we are recording this in January. I don't know when people are tuning in, if they're in the middle of July. But at this time of the year, I just love lighting the candles.
They are lovely because there's the Winter Wonderland and the Tullymore would be very heavy, whereas the Murlock and Torella would be a lighter scent, so they would be nicer for the summer months. But we've got Valentine's coming up as well.
That's right.
So a lot of people have been sort of had engagements and stuff in Tullymore and things like that in Murlock. So
well, I wish you very well
Thank you so
with
much.
this side of the business.
Thank
I
you
think the
so
candles
much.
are absolutely gorgeous. So what do you like to do in your spare time, if you get any at all?
I know, it's a laugh, isn't it? Well, do you know what, Sarah? Actually, with my dad having dementia, I decided rather than playing sort of like a game on my phone, I decided to learn a language. So this last sort of 18 months, I've been learning Spanish to sort of maybe in my retirement, maybe me and my husband might go and live there or something. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. But I just thought sort of maybe hopefully maybe stave off dementia, because it is quite strong actually on our family side. So I am well aware of that. I stopped drinking 5 years ago. And I would be the designated driver for friends. So I know.
That's amazing. I wish you
know.
were my friend. No, actually, I wish I could have your steely determination. How is it not drinking?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's I just decided it was just I had got started to get really crazy busy with work, and then maybe if I was having 2 drinks of a night, the next day it really wasn't working for me. I'm 48 now, do you know what I mean? So it was like I just sort of hit 40, and it was kind of like, you know what, this is really not. I'm feeling rotten. So for like the 2 hours or a few hours in the evening that I'm feeling relaxed, you know, I want to feel good the whole day. So I decided, and nobody could believe it because I was a bit of a party animal. And so it's like, I still can't believe, Jackie, you don't drink. And I know, but I love it. And
did your husband give up?
No, he didn't.
Right.
He didn't.
Is that difficult?
It can be, but it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't bother me at all.
So what tips would you give to people? Again, we're in January and lots of people are doing dry January, etc. But would you recommend people do it? Just cold turkey?
I did it. Yes, I did do a cold turkey. I found it okay. It was fine. It was February, so it was kind of like Lent as well. But even now there at Christmas there, it was slightly hard because obviously after COVID and stuff, we were able to start partying a bit more and things like that there. But I would just sort of say, just have, like, I know it's terrible, but people just don't understand why you're not drinking. So you have to like sort of like say, oh, I have to get up early in the morning. You know what I mean? Because they will.
You have to make excuses.
You have to make excuses. They will probe you. Why did you stop? Did you have a problem?
I've heard this.
It?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Are you pregnant? And they know not. You know,
God forbid.
I know. So that's it. But I don't know. It's just. it's given me so much more for my creativity as well, and things like
And
that.
in the morning when you're fresh as a daisy.
I'm as fresh as a daisy, you know, and my skin's better. I lost weight. I actually had a really puffy face. I called them my Elizabethan years, like my Elizabeth Taylor years, you know. But no, it's. I never say never, but I hopefully never go back, you know.
So you
for
enjoy
me,
doing.
I enjoy being the designated driver, and
So
my
you still
friends,
like to go out with everybody?
Oh, I do. I love it.
Do you not say, right, come on now,
No,
everybody's
absolutely
home?
not. No, because I still love the crack, and I still love the, you know, the sort of what's happening and the laughs and things like that there. And if it's somebody's birthday, we'll buy them a bottle of wine. I'm not anti-drink at all by any means, but just stick to it and just think of the reasons why you're doing it. I mean, for me, all the reasons why I was giving up were more than the reasons that I was doing it. So I just thought, you know what? So
Good for you. So what's next then for Seaforde Interiors?
well, as you know, I'm doing the candles, but there's other things that I do want to do, and sometimes I think if you talk about it, then you never do it.
Okay. Really? Or
Yes.
you jinx yourself or something?
Yes,
so.
and I'm so sorry. That's
okay.
you
Yes,
know,
sorry, listeners.
But I do. I'm probably more into the sort of more in home interior side of it, you know, as well, and things like that. Because I love meeting people. I never ever had a shop, and I never wanted to have a shop because of the large overheads. But I'll never say never to that either. So I could maybe go down that way. You know, I don't know. Maybe in the future, whenever maybe the cost of living crisis and stuff, sort of, you know, because at the minute with electricity bills and rates and stuff, you know, you just couldn't.
And has that affected business, or do you find those that have money still have money?
A lot of my clients wouldn't be high end clients. I think I'm sort of more sort of. I'm not stupid money, and I think that's why I'm always busy, because I don't outprice myself. And like I had this woman, and she said to me, "Is that all you wear?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my hours were," and things like that. But so but it's kind of like, it has to be for everybody, and I think, like, no matter where you live, you can make it look well. You can make it look nice.
So I'm going to test you a little bit now then. If we were on a small budget and you just wanted to do something to simply refresh your home, you know, how cheaply could you do it, and what could people do?
Just your cost of your paint. As well, keep your curtains, get them washed. I mean, there's so many places now. You've got like the likes of B&M and things like that there that do like sort of, you know, like they look at the sort of high end things, you know, accessories, mirrors and stuff like that there, and they will actually tailor them for, you know, so you can do it on a budget, and it does look amazing.
And what sort of things could you do immediately just to freshen things
Immediately,
up?
I mean, like, for instance, I know I shouldn't say this, but bringing in a mirror, I mean, it's cheaper than buying a piece of artwork.
Right.
And also it'll bring more light in as well. So you're already changing the light and the look of the room as well. Sort of paint, obviously, again. But just contrasting your colours also. You know, like you use a little colour wheel. You'll always see like your painter and decorator using them also, and sort of it'll guide you to kind of what colours kind of work well together, whether they sit well together, whether they're contrast, whether they're far apart on the wheel also, you know. A rug, you know, they don't have to be expensive items, you know, cushions and things like that there. You don't have to break the budget, and you can do that. I mean, it's like it just looks good, and also to reuse what you've got. You know, a lick of paint on things can totally transform an item of furniture. And if you really are sort of quite nostalgic to a piece of furniture, you don't want to get rid of it, just a lick of paint on it, or sand it down as well. You know, it doesn't have to break the bank.
It's amazing that, yes, the effect that can have, just that lick of paint. Well, it's been a joy talking to you today, Jacqueline. The final question, same one for everybody that sits in your chair. The purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and ambitious entrepreneurs to grow their business by offering an insight into the success of businesses such as yours at Seaforde Interiors. But what advice would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin, or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking?
In Northern Ireland, we're very lucky to have so many different enterprise centres, and that's the first place that I went to, and they were able to put me on like courses and stuff, sort of how to get your business off the ground, how to write your business plan and things like that there as well, and even Invest NI as well. Also, Invest NI wouldn't be good for me because I'm one a one person. Whereas if you were going to start like a sort of company and things like that, they're obviously the more go-to. But your local enterprise centre is amazing. Local network groups as well, because obviously you're going from maybe working in an office environment to actually working on your own, and you don't know in maybe any local business owners either. So I joined a local one in Downpatrick. I met some fantastic people there. I was a member there for 6 years. I met Stephen McGarry and I met Ricky Neal, and I worked with both of those through that as well. There's brilliant networking groups for mums at work. I mean, they've been fantastic for me. I've got a lot of work through them. But just go along with to the networking groups as to get to know people. And don't push yourself on them. Don't go with like this thirst that you want to get work, just go along with to get to know people and sort of like be spontaneous and sort of have creative ideas of each other and things like that there, and just have somebody to kind of meet for a cup of tea or a coffee and sort of like say, how are you getting on in your business and things like that. But so definitely networking groups as well have been fantastic for me. There's lots of different ones in Belfast as well. I joined Newry Chamber there this year as well. It's definitely, you have to get out and meet people, and that is the key to starting your business and getting it off the ground and getting to know people.
And great tips on networking too. Don't go thinking I'm going to give my business card to everyone I meet. Yeah. Just form those connections.
Build those relationships.
And it's
definitely
amazing what happens after
because
you meet someone new.
Yeah, people want to get to know you, build that relationship with you. If they like you and if they trust you, then they will work with you.
And I also find too that if you can help someone else, if you go with that as your objective,
absolutely.
that giver's gain approach, and say, do you know what, I could introduce you to someone. A simple introduction.
Absolutely.
And I always think that's karma in that.
Definitely.
Further down the line.
Absolutely, because I'm the same as well, because I always thinking, how can I help that person, So I'm actually trying to do something in my local community as well. I'm maybe trying to do something because I always get asked by local people, what about your social media? How do you keep it so whatever? But it's consistency. I see my social media, I post every day. I used to post like 7 days a week, but now I do it Monday to Friday, so 5 days a week. So on the Friday I will say, bye everyone, have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. I see my business social media as very much like a shop. I'm opening my shop up every day. So I will put something on inspirational each day, show past projects that we're working on every day. And so I maybe get people sort of locally maybe getting in touch with me, Jack, how do you do it? So I'm going to try and do something like sort of, because I've done it with women in business, sort of for new startups and things, to sort of give them tips and ideas. I mean, I'm not amazing at it, but sort of if something can help somebody, then that's
You're
great.
doing it and it's working, and that's what others need to learn from.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, thank you so much, and I wish you well with that.
Thank you so much.
We definitely should continue with that. Thanks so much for joining me on the Public Eye podcast, and do check out Seaforde Interiors on the social media pages that Jacqueline has mentioned. Thanks so much everyone for joining me for this edition of the Public Eye podcast. I'll see you again very soon. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.